Hello there! Today I will be reacting to a video from the channel called General Knowledge. I like already the name of this channel, General Knowledge. Go and check it out. I'm gonna subscribe because I love General Knowledge. This one is why Germany has so many names, exonyms explained. And thinking about it, it's actually true. In Italy, we call it Germania. In Spanish is Alemania. In Finnish, I know is Saxa. So yeah, and it changes, like in Spanish, a German person will be called Aleman. In Italian, it will be totally different. It wouldn't be Germano, like one must imagine, it would be Tedesco. And then I know there's also in French they call it Allemand, les Allemands. So we gotta find that out, because I think also in Finnish there is Saxa is from Saxony. Guessing, like sound of it sounds like from Saxony. Oh wait, sorry. The video already started. So yeah, I'm gonna stop right now venturing guesses, and we're gonna find out why that is the case.
Allemagne, Deutschland, Niemcy, Saksama, Włochytija, Tyskland.
Niemcy? Who calls it Niemcy? Maybe Polish people. Niemcy.
What do you call Germany? Because there are so many options. Every country has an endonym, what they call themselves in their native language, and at least one exonym, which is what everybody else calls them, usually a slightly different version, at least adapted to the foreign languages. It's why the Portuguese city of Lisboa is called Lisbon in English, Lissabon in Swedish, or Lisbona in Italian. In other cases, instead of adaptations, an exonym can be completely different from an endonym. Take the example of this country, which in English we call Greece, but the entire Arab world calls a version of Yunanistan, while the Greek people themselves call the country Hellas. Just like Japan calls itself Nihon or Finland Suomi. But in most of these cases, there is a native version and then a foreign exonym version that everybody kind of...
But I think Stan is the way they have of calling a country that is Muslim. I don't know what Stan for. I'm sorry, okay. I don't know what that stands for, because yeah, if you think about it, also India, when it split into two, it became British India. When it split into two, one part was called India, and then there was West Pakistan and East Pakistan, and then East Fuck, I can't talk today. East Pakistan became Bangladesh, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah, so it's Pakistan. Yeah, what's the meaning of Stan? I want to know. Does anyone know?
Kind of uses in their own way. However, there is at least one country with multiple exonyms which are very different from each other, and that is Germany. This map of Europe shows us that...
Oh, I was right. It was Poland, actually. Calling it Niemcy. Niemcy is such a cool name, right?
Very well, with each color representing an exonym that the country has. Some versions of Allemagne or Alemania in yellow, Germany or Germania in green, Deutschland or Tyskland in blue, Niemcy or an adaptation in pink, and then specific ones for Latvia and Lithuania, and Estonia and Finland. It's also a good way of seeing how the same exonym can have different adaptations depending on the country where it is used and the language that is spoken there. Take for example Almanya in Turkey or Almain in Cornwall. In this video we are going to learn why Germany has so many super different exonyms and what each of them mean. So first, why are there so many names for Germany? The simple answer is because Germany as a territory has interacted with various parts of Europe throughout its history. It's in the middle of Europe, and so that makes sense. And inside the territory that we today identify as Germany, various tribes existed, some on one side and some on the other. And so very often the existence of different names, depending on where you are in Europe, for Germany, has to do with the fact that the tribe with which they interacted was one, when on the other side of Europe it was another. And so surrounding regions knew the territory through different names, depending on which tribe they interacted with and how that interaction went. From the Saxons to the Thuringians, among many others.
I was right.
It's very interesting to see how many European places today can still trace their etymology back to the time when these barbarian invasions took place.
Yeah, that's true, because Lombards, it was the Lombardy region of Italy, where Milan is the capital. Goths, Ostrogoths, Visigoths, they were, yeah, in Spain. Then the Alemanni, the Franks became France, Angles, English, Jutes, the Judeos. So cool. Yeah, I never thought about it.
We talked about it a couple videos ago, how
Maybe
the
the
region
Swedes.
of Burgundy in France traces its origin to the Burgundians, which came from an island in Denmark. And another example is France, which takes its name from the Franks, which also invaded the
Charlemagne.
Western Roman Empire. But anyway, back to Germany. To find out more answers about how each individual exonym came to be, we need to go look at their origin, understand where they come from, and what they mean. But first, let's begin by understanding the endonym itself. Deutschland, what Germans call themselves in German. The German word has
If I'm not mistaken, I'm sorry to interrupt, but if I'm not mistaken, we call the German people Tedeschi. And I think that Tedesco should have something to do with the Teutonic. Tedesco, Teutonico. If I'm not mistaken, I read somewhere before that it's related to the Teutonic Order. I don't know. I mean, I hope they will explain about it.
its roots in the Old High German word diot, meaning people, and the connected adjective diustig, which means of the people. Therefore, Deutschland kind of just means people's land or land of the people. The people, in this case, being the Germans. A few other countries in Europe, mostly the ones that are closely connected to Germany, call them that too. So I don't know if we should call those an exonym. In the map, they're colored in blue too, and the two biggest examples are the Dutch version of it and the Scandinavian one. The Netherlands and Flanders use Duitsland and Scandinavia uses Tyskland. I guess they are different words, but Tyskland is based on the older Germanic and Nordic words Pidisker and Thjoda, which I'm definitely mispronouncing. But they simply mean people, so the meaning is exactly the same, and the origin too, it's just adapted to a different language somewhere else. Now, this video is all about learning the names that Germany has across Europe, how they're different, and where they come from. And while my channel is a great place to learn about history or etymology, another great place to learn is Brilliant. Brilliant is where you learn by doing, with thousands of interactive lessons in math, data analysis, and AI. I was never great at maths in school, and now going back to Brilliant and learning maths with their really cool and interactive lessons, I've actually found it pretty fun to do. And there are a bunch of reasons why Brilliant is incredible and really sets itself apart from other platforms when it comes to learning. And one that I think really makes a difference is that they actually work on your problem-solving skills. And they do this by teaching you how to problem-solve certain situations,
So
not just by memorizing what it is that you are learning.
Wow.
So while you are building real knowledge on specific
Kind of like the Duolingo to make you smarter.
topics, you're also learning how to think better when it comes to any other topic. You can learn it through fun lessons, and you can do this on the go with our mobile app. This way, making time to learn is much easier. Take the math content that I mentioned, for instance. In it, you cover real math concepts and techniques while learning to build and use formulas to solve real problems in business and everyday life. So if you want to learn math, data analysis, or AI in a way that is really fun and actually applicable in your real life, try Brilliant today. You can do it at brilliant.org/general knowledge, and you can learn for free for 30 days. And then if you choose to continue with a premium subscription, you get a 20% discount on top of that. Thank you to Brilliant for sponsoring this video, and now let's get back to it. So now that we understand the origin and the meaning of Deutschland, I think we can move on to the exonyms.
I know how to calculate.
I think we should start with Germany, because it's the one that we use in English, which is the language that I am speaking to
Germania and
right
Italian.
now. The modern English word Germany derives from the Latin
I
Germania,
think Germania, as we say it in Italy, it's comes from the Latin, right?
which we can see on the map is what the Italians still call the country today as well. The earliest use of this term has been found in the writings of Julius Caesar, a large group of tribes east of the Rhine River. It's interesting how the Romans seemingly just grouped all of these different tribes together, giving them a single name, instead of bothering to set them apart individually. In fact, it really seems like they just decided to group up all of the tribes west of the Rhine River and call them Gauls, and group up all of the tribes east of the Rhine River and call them Germani. And so in this case, the origin of Germania in Latin would just be the land of the Germani tribes. So we need to take a look at the origin of Germany itself, but that is a little more complicated. According to the book titled precisely Germania by Tacitus, a Roman senator and historian, he writes how Germania was a modern and recently introduced name and had been previously applied only when referring to the Tungri tribe.
Oh yeah, look, there's Nemus. I think that comes from Niemcy, comes from this tribe that is called Nemus. What I think is one of those tribes. I think I heard a song before because we have a rapper in Italy that is also a philosopher teacher, and he makes these cool songs about obscure historical events. And there was this that the if I'm not mistaken, the Quad were a tribe in Germany that was exterminated by the Romans, that just disappeared from existence. Something like that.
Which actually lived in what is today Belgium. This would therefore be at least one of the tribes that Julius Caesar had talked about and referred to as the Germani Cisrenani, the Germans on this side of the Rhine. But it still leaves the question open of what the word meant and where it came from, or if Julius Caesar just made it up. Some say that in Old High German, it meant the way that German people refer to each other, and so the tribes had sort of a concept that united them, and they used that term, but this sounds a little uncertain to me. Others say that he would have gotten the name from the Gauls, which had a word for the tribes across the Rhine River, referring to them as Germani, which would mean something like sons of the forest or just neighbors. And so we can't really know where Germani comes from, but either way, it came to be adapted and used to refer to the tribes in the territory.
Oh yeah, look, Teutons. I think that's what Tedesco, Teutons. I don't know.
That we today know as Germany in general. So while it is uncertain in its meaning, we can trace the origin very precisely. It was what the Romans called the area of Germany in Latin. Today it's used by the United Kingdom, Italy, Greece, Albania, Kosovo, Montenegro, Bulgaria, Romania, and Moldova, in addition to almost all countries formerly part of the British Empire, as we can see on this map, with the addition of Russia, Georgia, Cyprus, Armenia, and Mongolia. But if the origin of the term is Latin, it is a little weird that the British kept using it despite their Anglo-Saxon language. When you look at the countries of Scandinavia or the Netherlands, they didn't do that. And the reason why is pretty interesting, and we need to move on to the next exonym to actually understand what the reason was. Because while they kept Germania, other Latin and Romance language speaking countries changed it, as is the case with France, Portugal, and Spain, the former colonies of these countries across the world, and the entire Arab world. Because all of these, here in yellow in the first map, use a version of Alemania, Almania, or Elmania. So where does this exonym come from? Another tribe. The name Allemagne came from the Alemanni tribe, who lived in Alemania, which is today's Alsace, parts of Baden-Württemberg, and Switzerland. And I would guess that the people in what is today France just started using it to refer to the people of Germany because it was the first point of contact that they had with that territory, which puts a little in question the idea that Julius Caesar would have gotten the Germani name from the Gauls, because if the Gauls called them Alemanni, that wouldn't be possible. It then spread to Spain and Portugal as the Reconquista took place, and then to the Arab world as Portugal and Spain were the first points of contact of these people with Europe. And here we get to
Why
understand
also
why the
in,
English actually
Wales?
used Germania or Germany instead of coming up with their own version or
Gaelish.
something that is a little more Anglo-Saxonic, if you will. Because in English, the name Almain or Alman was used for Germany until the 16th century. The word German was then first reintroduced in around the year 1520 as an alternative word at first, perhaps related to the Renaissance and the fascination with all things ancient, then becoming a replacement word and the official term they used to refer to that country. Interestingly, the regions of Cornwall and parts of Wales within the island of Great Britain kept versions of the origin Allemagne, Cornwall using Almain and Wales Id Almain. And the reason seems pretty simple because Cornish and Welsh draw on their interactions with medieval
Welsh.
Europe, especially with Old French, and I guess they got the name from there. And then just
I always get confused with Welsh, Gaelish, all those languages. They're so complicated.
decided to keep it when the English ended up changing it. So Deutschland, Tyskland, Germany, and Alemannia are understood, but what about the rest? Because there are at least 3 more exonyms of Germany that we need to learn about. The Slavic one, like Niemcy in Poland and its variants, the Finnish and Estonian one, Saksa and Saksama, and
I think that Saxon is pretty straightforward, right? Saxons. Niemcy, we saw there was that tribe called the Niemo or whatever that was.
the Lithuanian and Latvian
this
ones,
one I don't know.
Vokietia and Vasija. Again, I know that I'm probably mispronouncing these, so just correct me in the comments if you know how to say it properly. Let's start with the Slavic one that's shown in pink on the map because it's used by so many countries in Eastern Europe, although nowhere else in the world, I guess connected to the fact that these countries didn't have colonial empires that they spread their language to. The origin of this one is the fact that Slavic languages initially described the Germans as Niemcy, meaning something like those that couldn't talk. Or if you want a more direct translation, I guess it would be mutes. One translation I saw also wrote it as the silent ones, which makes it look much cooler and also much scarier. And the explanation behind this is the fact that communication between 2 different tribes at the time was a little difficult when they spoke such different languages. And so these Slavic people started referring to the Germans or the tribe of Germans that they interacted with as Niemcy, the silent ones, because communication wasn't possible. It's not that they were actually mute, it's just that nobody understood each other. The term then spread to all of the Slavic regions, Russia being a big exception, and Hungary one as well because it's not a Slavic country but it uses it, so the other way around. Actually, Hungary's case is interesting because while Hungarian is not a Slavic language, they borrow their word for mute from Slavic languages, nema, and so their exonym for Germany ends up being very similar to the Slavic one through an indirect root, being something like Nemetorzag, a compound word consisting of Nemet and Orzag, the latter meaning country. So something like country of the ones that can speak, I guess. A fun fact, a similar case to the Slavics referring to the Germans as mute is the origin of the word barbarian, which would supposedly be onomatopoeic. In the Greek ear, speakers of foreign tongue made
I know this one. Because they thought that all the other people that were in Greek, when they talked, they would sound like bar, so they called it barbarian.
intelligible sounds, something like bar, and then the term barbarian would have come from that. I don't know if this is actually true, but it would be a pretty cool explanation. So now that we understood the Slavic exonym for Germany, there's only 2 left. So let's start wrapping things up by understanding the Finnish and Estonian one, Saksa, which comes from Saxon or Saxon in English,
this one
which
was
were the
pretty
tribes that they
straightforward.
interacted with the most or which were most prevalent at the time that the term came to be used
What about the Tyskland?
by the local Finnish and Estonian people. So it's exactly the same logic as the French calling it Allemagne. It was just the tribe that was closest or best known to them from the territory of Germany. Estonia uses a version of it called Saksama. I guess it's exactly the same, just in Estonian. Which brings us to the last exonym used for Germany, the ones used by Lithuania and Latvia, which despite being different are grouped up in the map, so it leads us to believe that they have a common origin, Vokietia and Vasia, respectively. And I left this one for last because the origins and meaning of them are a little uncertain, if not fully unknown. They both contain the root words vaka or vakia. Lithuanian linguist Kazimierz Buga associated this with a reference to a Swedish tribe named the Vagoths in a 6th century chronicle. I mean, the Romans called the whole of Germany Germania after a set of tribes that were actually in Belgium, so it would be pretty likely that they called Germany this other name because of a Swedish tribe. It's not unheard of. At the same time, Latvian linguist Konstantins Karulis proposes that the word may be based on the Indo-European word wek, meaning speak, from which derived the Old Prussian word wakis and the Latvian word veskis, both meaning something like war cry. And so if the German tribe that they interacted with was known for having a specific war cry, that could be the origin of the term. Or maybe they also made incomprehensible sounds with their language that the Baltic people didn't understand, and so they associated with just a noise and chose this name to refer to them in a similar way that the Slavics chose Niemcy. Some other people claim that the name comes from later and is connected to the similarity between Vokietis, a German, and the word Vokti, which means to steal, because of the German Teutonic and Livonic orders being seen as pillagers of the locals, but this seems a little made up to me. I think the theories by the actual linguists and people that work on this are a little more likely, but which one is true, or the fact that maybe both are, is very uncertain. And so we learn about the 6 or 7 exonyms that Germany has in Europe and the world. And understanding, first of all, why they exist, due to the fact
No,
that...
but I didn't understand Tyskland. That's just a translation. I want to know also why we call the German people Tedeschi. They didn't say that. Wait, oh my god. If you know it, let me know in the comments.
That Germany is such a central territory in Europe, and the fact that throughout its history it interacted with neighboring regions through different tribes and in different ways. And so also finding out what those exonyms mean and where they come from, most of them being associated to a specific tribe of Germany, like the Alemanni or the Saxons, or a group of tribes that Julius Caesar seemingly just decided to call the Germani. Or even to the fact that they didn't understand what the tribe said or a specific noise that they made. All of them being pretty different from the endonym of Deutschland that the Germans used to refer to themselves, which surprisingly is used by some countries really far away, like China, Vietnam, Taiwan, or Japan, which isn't unheard of. For instance, Norway refers to Greece as Hellas, so that they are correct and use the endonym. Which exonym of Germany do you use for your country? Let me know in the comments, along with any other interesting cases that you know of these types of super different exonyms for a specific country when compared to the endonym or to other exonyms that it may have. Remember to subscribe to the channel. As a reminder, if I get to 1 million subscribers, I'm gonna do a full episode in a Napoleon costume. So
Bro!
if you want to see that, you have to subscribe.
What? No! Oh my god. Everyone go and subscribe right away. Come on, I want to see that. 127k more subscribers. I want to see that. Oh my god. That must be so cool.
Subscribe. Thank you so much to my patrons for supporting me on there. I just did a giveaway of a really cool general knowledge painting, and I'm going to be doing other things as well as providing early access and exclusive content. So if you want to be part of the community that we are building there, make sure to support the channel directly. I would really appreciate it. If not, just thank you for watching, and I will see you next time for more general knowledge.
Oh, that was a... Wow. This was a really cool video.
My beard because I'm starting to look like somebody who was lost at sea, especially with the long hair. And speaking of, did I plan this transition? Yes, I did. But the Moomin Cup for today is a guy who is at sea. Is Moomin a guy or I don't know? I guess it's just like a being. So, or maybe it's a girl and I'm wrong. I don't know.
Oh my god, I can't wait to travel to Finland to get some Moomin items as well. Actually, I'm watching Moomin right now because in my other channel I'm reacting to lots of Finnish stuff, and I'm trying to learn Finnish. So Moomin is one of the few things with Finnish damage. It's not as easy to find stuff in Finnish to watch as it is in German, French, Italian, or whatever. This video was really cool. It was very interesting. I definitely want to learn more about Germany and its history, you know? Nothing too recent, come on. There's already an abundance of World War One, World War II type of videos. I want to check out something, you know, something older, maybe from the Romans times, or even like Prussia. I like to learn about the history of Frederick the Great. That was such a cool story. I listened to a 6-hour podcast on his life. It was pretty cool. From his beginnings, that he wanted to be a poet, and his father just threw him in a jail, treated him like shit, and then all his victories. I mean, it was a really cool podcast. So if you have any good videos on Frederick the Great, I would definitely like to make a series about it. I don't know if there are many videos. I don't know. You will let me know. So I hope you enjoyed the content. Don't forget to subscribe. Go and check out the General Knowledge channel as well. And I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.